it is a process where you have to work and someone will guide you, and how important it is, what spikes to make visible. I got very quick responses from you whenever I reached out. And that helped me because I had very short windows of time available to do something and close something. And generally, I remember that reaching out to you on just close to the deadlines.
Yeah.
And but the response I got and the help I got was simply.
Hi everyone, this is Piyush Ranjan. I'm the founder and chief consultant of Management Masters. We are a boutique admissions consulting firm for the top MBA programs around the world. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Milind. Milind was a junior from my undergraduate college, IIT-BHU. And then very recently he reached out to us to work on his MBA applications for some of the top Indian B schools. And he was quite successful in his endeavor as well. So without further ado, let's start with a very quick introduction with Milind. Happy to have you here, Milind. Very, very excited to hear your story. Could you just give us a brief background of where you're coming from?
Thanks, Piyush, for that great intro. So I was born in Bhagalpur. Did my schooling from Bhagalpur. After 10th, I moved to Bokaro for my 12th. Then on, I moved to IIT-BHU for completing a BTech in mining engineering. After doing my BTech in 2012, for the last 10 years, and 2012 to 2022, I worked in coal mining sector. The mining sector, specifically coal mining sector. And I've had the privilege of working in different areas of the industry, different segments. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Milind. Could you elaborate for us a little bit on how exactly did your career graph look like? Because you work with different companies, some of the top companies when it comes to the mining sector in India. And at the same time, you also have some interesting career moves that you've made with respect to UPSC prep and everything. So if you can just give us a brief background of how did your career look like?
Yeah, so right after college, first I joined the mining sector. I worked there for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and then I decided that I've worked enough, gained certain understanding of the sector, and I'm confident that I can come back to the industry whenever I want. And I always had this aspiration to appear in UPSC, and especially because I had a lot of interest in international relations and wanted to be a diplomat. So that was something I wanted to do. So I planned a 1-year break. Right from the beginning, it was not open-ended because I had planned, I had only that many resources, so I planned a 1-year break, and I told to myself that I'll attempt this once, get it over with, give it my best shot, and then maybe come back to the industry if, I don't get through or whatever. And that is what happened. I took a year for that. I cleared prelims, appeared in mains, could not get to the interview stage. So I again came back to the industry because I had a lot of experience and I was hired easily. So I came back to the industry, kept giving my attempts while working, although that was very difficult because UPSC requires a lot of work, and balancing both work and UPSC attempts is not very easy. But I ended up giving 5 attempts and I wrote 3 mains. Did not get an interview, but then after a point of time, I still had an attempt left, but I was like, no, this has got to stop because I had also gotten married. And suddenly there were like 3 balls, which I had to balance. One was my work, then this UPSC, and my life, personal life. So I thought, that this is something that has to end, and I have to start planning ahead, thinking ahead. And that is how I started, like thinking what I've done till now and where am I going. So in that chain of thought, only after lengthy deliberation with friends, family, my wife, I decided that I should go for an MBA and make a career switch or pivot to some other kind of a role.
Okay, could you help me understand a bit, like how did you see the MBA program adding value to your career at this stage? Because you come from a very niche sort of industry, right? Coal mining is a very niche industry. So where exactly did you see the MBA program adding value to you, and how do you sort of see your goals post your MBA program?
Yeah. So, Piyush, the thing is that I had worked almost 9 years in the coal mining industry, and I've had quite a range of experience, because even in mining I was not like only working for operations. I'd worked in like project planning, auctions, so all kind of interesting things. Also, I've worked. But what happens at end of the day, that whatever your core skills are, they get used and used again. So you're there's a like diminishing learning,
Mhm.
and whatever field that excite you after 8 or 9 years, that you want to go into strategy, or the thing is that you don't have the hard skills for that. And if you want to develop that, then you have to get an MBA. So, and as I told you, diminishing learning was one of the most important push factors for me, because I was doing the same thing over and over again. I was getting good at it. I was very good at it. And whatever company or organization you're working for now, they want you to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So that is not good for you. It might be good for the organization, but not good for you.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. With respect to the application, once you've decided that you want to go into an MBA program, obviously it comes with its own set of challenges, right? And the first one, which a lot of people face, is essentially taking the GMAT. Especially, I think candidates like you who have quite a few years of experience, 9, 10 years of experience, and you're already in a quite senior position in the company, right? The amount of work that you would have itself becomes very challenging to manage alongside GMAT preparation. So could you tell us a bit about how did you go about the GMAT preparation? What kind of resources did you use? What did you find the best way to prepare for GMAT through your journey for preparing for it?
Yeah. So the first thing, as you rightly pointed out, that I was working in a very hectic role. It was very demanding in terms of mind space and also the time. So I used to come back and used to be, there was no time for me to, prepare. But as we have prepared in the past for different exams, we would completely dedicate our whole time for that exam. That is how we have worked. But I had some experience with UPSC because I had, given 2, 3 attempts while working. But that was when I was, little less in experience, and the role was not so demanding.
Yes.
So I talked to a lot of people. The first thing I think I would advise everyone is talk to a lot of people who have been through the journey, rather than only people who are aspiring to, like you. Talk to people who are advanced in that journey. So when I talked to a lot of, they told me that GMAT is something, you've already been through JE. So it would not be so difficult for you, but then you need to find out areas where you need to work. So what I decided when I first I decided that, the GMAT is that, and the main advantage also, that you can take it anytime.
Yeah.
So that is a very open-ended thing, and if you procrastinate, you'll never ever take it. The first thing that I did is that on day 0, I fixed a date. I think that was in June. I fixed a date for September. So I took 3 months time. Whether I'll prepare, I'll not prepare, I have to give this test on this fixed date. And frankly, I think I could not take out much time. That I understood. I was not being very impractical in setting hard targets, because I have a family also, and in a demanding job. So what I did is that first I took the test, and I scored 660 or 670. So that was good, and it was very encouraging. What I did is analyze my test results and found out which sections I'm having difficulty, what are the things I'm doing wrong. I worked on it a little bit, like 10 to 15 days, attempted the test again. So I retook a test, and then I was like 720 I scored. So I was confident that it's okay. I mean, 660 to 720, it will lie somewhere in between. So I just kept working. Then on, I just kept working on questions. I mean, maybe 3 to 4 hours a week, not more than that, I'll tell you. But that accumulates. You have to be consistent. 1 to 2 hours daily, if you can spare, with a strategy where you can find out what are the areas you need to work on. Don't get intimidated by the whole syllabus, entire syllabus, because that is what we have all learned all through our lives. So it is not that you have to reinvent the wheel. Only the pain areas you have to focus and work on them. And I took my GMAT and scored a decent 710.
Okay.
So then I thought I'll not retake the test, because that was also an option if I had scored a very low. So 710 was something I was satisfied with. And because one thing I also understood after talking to a lot of guys and a lot of my seniors, that GMAT is only the beginning of the process. It's not like JEE that once you take the exam and everything is over. So whatever energy and time I could spare, I wanted it to put in the admission process and application process. So, and that is when I reached to you after taking my GMAT. Just after taking my GMAT, I reached out to you. So yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes so much sense. And I think one of the things that you mentioned that I really, really liked was essentially that, the fact that GMAT there is no end date from a GMAT perspective. Right? It's a very open test. You can take it anytime and whenever you want. And you sort of, it's obviously a huge benefit of the test. And at the same time, if you don't really utilize that aspect, if you just procrastinate, it can be the biggest issue with the test itself, right? So I think that's something that is really, really interesting that you mentioned. Could you tell us a bit about the kind of resources that you utilized for the GMAT prep? Did you take any coachings, or did you prepare it on your own? Did you take up did you refer to any material, forums that helped you out?
Yeah, so I basically took got the OG official guide, and I felt that it was more than sufficient. Because whatever official GMAT test, also official test only I took 2 tests, and I solved problems only from the OG, because nothing gives you confidence more than past year questions. So if you can get through them, and because this was also my experience in JEE, that past year questions are the best way to test yourself. So OG was the mainstay of my preparation. As I told you, I could not spare much time. So that is why I did not want to stray my focus to other issues. Like I'm also taking coaching that takes a lot of time and effort. So I wanted to focus on OG. If I would have felt that it was not enough, then I would have sought other avenues.
Okay, that makes sense. Before we get into discussing about the kind of B-schools that you targeted and why you targeted those, could you also tell us a bit about what do you think in terms of extracurriculars that you did that helped you with your applications?
Yes. So you want to understand what kind of extracurriculars I took, or is it important to take extracurriculars?
Yeah. So in terms of what did you do? Right. So I think you were quite involved in college with extracurriculars, but if you continued with something like that through your career as well, if you could shed some light on that.
Yes. See, I think we have to understand the basic premise of extracurricular. They are a way to explore yourself. That's the first thing. It is not done. I think many people, think that they should do extracurriculars so that in future it will be good for their MBA or whatever. It is generally good for you. It adds a different dimension to your life. So because I did a lot of theater in my college days, and the main reason was that coming from a relatively backward area where the only focus is on studies and nothing else. So I always had this urge that I want to do something which is more creative, something which I just do for myself rather than be a part of it. So I did a lot of theater, and how it helped me over the years when I look back, it has helped me a lot in improving my communication It egged me to read more and more, understand creativity, why art is important, and that is something which will always be with you. And so that is the first thing. Second is uh, whenever in any kind of be it your profession or you are applying for MBA, it always adds a lot of spike in what story you're telling, because they understand that if you have rigorously followed something extracurricular in any dimension, then you have something extra which gives you an edge, because you learn more, your learning is more diverse. And I remember a funny anecdote. I mean, someone was, I read it somewhere that in an MBA interview, someone would ask, maybe I read it on your post, I don't remember, that how did your quizzing, you were very active in quizzing, and how will it help you work better for our organization? The guy probably said, it will not, and I just did it because I liked it. So go out.
I think that was a LinkedIn post recently.
Yes, maybe. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Coming back to the application prep, right? Could you help us understand, like, how did you decide which kind of schools did you want to apply to? I think when you applied, you mostly focused only on the Indian schools, right? So was there a particular reason for that? How did you decide which schools did you want to apply to really?
Yeah, so see, MBA is a very important decision for anyone in personal terms also and professional terms also, because it reshapes your life entirely going forward. Changes it. So, and even more so for someone like me who is relatively more advanced in his career, and I was married also. So, I think the professional reasons I've already laid out. The personal reasons were that me and my wife, we were living, it was sort of a long distance thing only, because she was working out of Bombay and I was posted in Rajasthan. So that was the first thing, that I want to pivot to a kind of a role where we can, be together and work together. And so the first thing that was clear to me was that I want to go to an Indian school, because I don't want to go out, and then again, if I get a job outside, then it would again be a problem. It would be like we end up at the same place where we began. My wife back in India, and that would take a lot of time, to sort out. So that was something I did not want to get involved in. So I wanted to pursue MBA from India and work in India. So that is something I'm very clear on. The second thing is that I was targeting only 1-year programs. Because the opportunity cost for me of a 2-year MBA would be good for that. So that also made the executive programs from IIMs and ISB the main choice. And I ended up applying only in 3 colleges. That is EPGP from Bangalore, PGPX Ahmedabad, and PGPX. So these were the only 3 colleges where I applied.
All right. And could you very quickly share the results of what?
Yeah, so I got declined at IIM Bangalore. In IIM Ahmedabad, I participated in 2 rounds, because in round 2 I was waitlisted. In round 3 I was waitlisted again, but then given the admit. And ISP in round 3 only I applied, so I was selected.
That sounds absolutely amazing, right? Now, obviously, when it comes to the applications, one big part of the MBA application, especially these kind of MBA programs, 1-year programs, is the essays, right? That they form a huge part of the application. They're not the only part which is important, obviously, but definitely quite an intriguing part, and I think one of the most difficult areas which students usually find. So could you tell us, how did you approach the essay writing process, and how did you sort of tackle those questions which these schools have?
Yes, so different schools have different kind of formats and different kind of questions. But I will stress here more on the common bit, which is like uniform in all of them. And this is something, because when I was like completely zero in this area, because I had no knowledge. Because MBA admission process in itself is so rigorous. and I had no understanding. And I remember when I reached out to you, and although a lot of guys, a lot of people who are like new to this admission process or want to get into an MBA college, they think that when they go to someone or reach out to a professional consultant, just because they're paying them, it means that they'll write their essays. So I think it might be, it might be a conception limited to the ignorant lot only, but it is quite widespread. That is what I felt. So I remember clearly when I reached out to you, and because the first thing is that everyone is scared whether they'll make it, whether they are good enough. You start doubting yourself. Whenever you put yourself in any kind of fray in life,
Yeah.
the first thing is that you start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you're good enough. And so I reached out, and after two, three calls, I was a little clearer on what is expected from me. I think what you laid out and what I understood is that it's very important to know your story.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of confidence from the fact that you have to introspect and bring out your own story. Don't fabricate anything, or don't twist and turn the truth. You can choose to select and omit. That is something you can do, but because that is the best approach. That way is, if you have written everything that you have been through, you'll be very confident going into an interview.
Yeah.
There will be no stress, and I think it's very important to put in the hours, but taking unnecessary stress by adding something that you've not done is wrong, even morally, and put a lot of stress. So the thing which is uniform in the essay is that it's very important to understand how you got where you are right now,
Yeah.
where you want to go, and why you want to go. And I felt that this is such a universal question, and why am I so late, pondering on this question? Because even after now, the process is complete, admission process is complete, I've written those essays, but the great benefit to me is that that question is still in my mind, and I'm, currently asking myself this: that
Yeah.
what am I doing, where I'm going? And this was not the case earlier, at least not as clearly in my brain as it is now.
Yeah.
So apart from the admission process, I think it has helped me also to understand myself better, where I want to go. So those answers. So it's a great process. I think if you put in the efforts, you will reap the benefits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's something again that you bring out very, very nicely and beautifully about the MBA application process itself. It sort of forces you to think about things which in general life you would never do, or you would never take the time out to, right? So you would never start, you're working, and you would never stop to say, why am I doing this, right? Or where do I see myself going, except for having goals. The why is often missing. And the application process itself, it allows you, or rather forces you to think about the why behind every single goal or achievement that you've had.
I think these 3 months, 4 months of this rigorous admission process, I think they end up making you more self-aware.
Yeah.
In life, in generally, you're more self-aware after this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what would you say was the most interesting aspect of the entire application process for you? Was it about the GMAT? Was it about choosing the B schools? Was it about working on the essays or the interviews or something else?
Yeah, I think the most important link in this entire process is essay writing. Because, yeah, interview is also interesting. But I think if you have put in honest effort in the essay stage, then I think more or less you're set for the interview. That is what I understand. Because as I already pointed out, it forces you to explore what you're doing, what you think about issues, where you want to go, why you want to go where you want to go. So all the questions mainly will stem out of that only, because they already seen your academic records, the companies, the roles that you're working in. They know that. What they want to know is what you think. Help you realize what you think.
Mhm.
So that was the most important.
Perfect. That makes so much sense. I think one final question we have before we move into the rapid fire round that we'll have afterwards is, if you could give us or if you could share some sort of feedback as to how was it working with us as a team, or what did you like about working with us, or what did you not like working with us? What would you suggest we could improve further?
Yes. So as I told you earlier, that I started from zero. I knew nothing of the like MBA universe. So I did not know anyone, and so I understood that I need a someone professional, who can help me through this. Uh, then the first thing that I do is that I talk to a few people, people I know, that how they can help me in this regard. And I already knew that you are working in this segment, and I got so many recommendations that the kind of work that you are doing. So I reached out to you. And then the most important thing which helped me, I think, was your suggestion that it is a process where you have to work and someone will guide you, you know, and how important it is, what spikes to make visible, how to, these are things that normally we don't do, because it has a way, the MBA process, it has a set way. And only someone who is, been through and seen hundreds of applications and helped hundreds of candidates, they understand this, that everything should be objective, at least in the CV, everything should be objectively put. But when you are working on your essay, there has to be a personal touch. So you cannot be very personal in your CV and be very objective in your essay. So that would be the wrong way to go about it. So that helped me a lot. And what I also felt that since I had a lot of paucity of time, and so I got very quick responses from you whenever I reached out, and that helped me because I had very short windows of time available to do something and close something. And generally, I remember that reaching out to you on just close to the deadlines. And but the response I got and the help I got was simply it was like the most important thing for me, because I was very stressed out in the entire process.
You never sounded stressed out.
No, I was stretched. I was stretched thin, as far as time was concerned. Although I don't take so much stress, because, so that is it. And as per the improvement part, I think a lot of things you guys do is very good, but more sort of sessions where these kind of sessions that you put. See, already a lot of students from this follow you. And I think something, it's more of an addition than improvement, that the post-MBA journey is also a great challenge. Post-MBA journey, how people want to pivot. And so talking to a lot of people that you have helped into the MBA, taking feedback from them, say 4 years, 5 years post-MBA, what they experience, I think that will add a lot of value. And the kind of network that you already have, that is, I think, huge value you'll add to this. And you can also think of doing something in this. Just a suggestion.
That's a very interesting suggestion. It makes a lot of sense as well. We are working on something like this. We have some concepts around this at this point of time.
That's great.
They're not fully formed. One reason for that essentially is because it's only been like 3 years that we've been into this. Most of the people that we have worked with, they have either just graduated, right, or they are still in college, right. Yes. So I do understand where you're coming from, and this is something that we have been we have talked multiple times within the firm as well. So I think we will take this and definitely sort of try and build it up maybe a bit quicker than we anticipated it to, right? But thanks again for that. That's sort of like, it's almost like a validation even before the idea is out, right? So thank you so much for that. Let's move into a bit more interesting part of the conversation, right? The last section that we have, which is the rapid fire. Very, very simple. We'll have a few questions, 4 or 5 questions for you.
Do I get a hamper?
No, I'm not current, unfortunately. But I think it should be fun. Right?
Okay.
So 4 or 5 questions, and we expect very short one-line or one-word answers, right? Mostly related to your experiences. So let's start with the first one: myth about MBA applications that you realized through your own journey.
The biggest myth is that you really have to stand out. I think everyone is unique. So be honest, and that will, sail you through.
Okay. The worst part of the application process that you did not like at all.
Oh, the deadlines and the essays, So
the essays are the most interesting and the worst part at the same time.
Yes, it takes a lot of time. So that is really pain.
Okay. One event or club at ISB that you are really, really looking forward to joining?
Media and entertainment.
Okay. Could you elaborate a bit on that? Why is that so?
Yes. So media and entertainment industry in India is rapidly growing, and actually it has always been here, but it is like getting more corporate. And so they pick a lot of guys for strategy roles, and so that would be like a marriage of something that I aspire professionally and also like personally. So media, entertainment, and strategy. So that is something I'm like aiming for.
Okay, that sounds super, super interesting. Maybe you will have your own Netflix specials, right? What would be one piece of advice that you would give to aspiring candidates?
The first thing for MBA and mostly guys who are going to take GMAT is that first just get GMAT out of your way, because application process in itself is very rigorous. So first get it out of your way as soon as possible.
The question that we have: what is your leadership mantra?
My leadership mantra is empathy, empathy, empathy. Talk to a lot of people, reach out to people. And the most important thing is that understand where they are coming from. You know where you are coming from, what your interests are. Understand where they are coming from, what their interests are. And whatever legitimate interest people have, you have to understand that, you have to address that and create a win-win situation. So just know your stakeholders, know everyone who is working with you, whose life you are affecting. So that is leadership. That is my mantra.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Milind. It has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I wish you the best for your journey at ISB and everything that you do in the future.